Backwards.
Go.
Okay, so summer work. We got most of it done. The move from Horseman to Ike is pretty much done. There's still a couple little things that we're still moving back and forth, but moving things around still, but it's mostly done. Weed control, Rob got his license. I think I mentioned that last time. So he's been spraying the weeds around the fence lines and on concrete surfaces to try to control that. Doesn't look like we're going to get to the kitchen drains into senior high, which isn't too big of a deal. We'll get through another year. The only issue with that is that every once in a while when those drains get clogged, it's just a drain. So most of the time the water goes down when it's clear, but if it's clogged, there's somehow it's leaking and getting down into the boiler room. So we just want to get that addressed. Canopy poles are painted at Ben Franklin. We are in the process of pressure washing the facade of the junior high right now. That'll be done this week. The French drain out here down along the driveway is done. Probably noticed the dirt. We're not going to get to the pool lights or the lights under the pool this summer, but that's not a big deal. We can do that when school's in because it's not really interfering with school activities. It's out of the way. The athletic trainer's room is complete. We've done all the repairs and painted it, cleaned it, made some minor modifications that the trainer requested. So that's done. We got the climbing wall out of the auxiliary gym. At the senior high, playground mulch has been delivered and spread at all the playgrounds. We've added the power and data that was needed at Eisenhower. We added 6 sump pumps underneath in the crawl space, and then we did power and data at the security desk.
At the wrestling room.
Yeah, that's the auxiliary gym. Yeah.
Yeah, is the wrestling mats and the things going around the walls, is that being done?
No, they're working on the money for the one that Tony came in to turn it on, and talked about. I think right now they're in the process of getting the funds wrapped up to do that.
Yeah, it's actually in our additional items. We got an email from Dan Rowe that we have a donor that wants naming rights for the money to get the thing finalized. So,
Or just a plaque, I think it was.
Yeah,
a
plaque.
plaque that said that they can put his name, their name in memory of or something.
Painted on the wall, right on the
map.
yeah, in a little fast times painting. Great, okay. Yeah, electronics.
Okay. Work at the shop is obviously not a priority, but we did get the gutters cleaned and we continue to try to clean and organize that space. We didn't get to the women's restroom or the corridor or the hallway floor. The outsourced items, obviously the walk-in freezer and cooler projects are still going on. The roof ladders did not get installed. I've been running into some difficulty with the contractor there. So that's probably not going to happen until later in the fall. The carpets have all been replaced at the East Pike, Ben Franklin, and Junior High, the ones that we identified needing to be replaced. The gym floors have been refinished.
How many gym floors?
3. 2 at the senior high and 1 at the junior high. Let's see. Blacktop repairs are still ongoing. The shop blacktop is complete. The junior high and senior high, I'm not sure. I'm running into some challenges with that contractor as well. And then we're going to self-perform the bus entrance over here. Just haven't gotten to that yet. The radon mitigation at the senior high and Horseman was done back in June. And then the ESCO project is still ongoing. The stadium lights are done. Auditorium lights are still ongoing. I'll cover that more when I update the ESCO project. And of course, the classroom renovations are still ongoing. And then I added that we also got the auxiliary gym painted and the T3 lab painted at the senior high school.
What was the cranes doing at the high school?
They were removing the light poles, the old stadium
I
poles.
just drove by there and I noticed that the poles were gone.
Yeah.
The heads are still there.
Yeah, the heads are still there.
Yeah, they're coming to get those tomorrow.
So all that crane was just for the.
Yeah,
just pulled down.
just to pick them, to set them on the truck.
Is there a way just to look where some of those, the lights are, they were shattered? I just don't, I mean,
No glass thing.
yeah, the glass, make sure there's
Yeah.
no glass around.
Yeah, we'll go through tomorrow once they get all those cages and everything out of there. We'll go through and make sure everything's cleaned up.
I don't know how you do that in the grass.
Scheduled for tomorrow.
Yeah, what's that?
That's scheduled for tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. White Township's coming back to get the rest of those pieces tomorrow. So that's where we're at for summer work.
How many students did you have helping you this summer?
I'm sorry.
How many students?
I think we had 5 new ones. We had 4 that returned from last summer. So we had about 9 students, and then we also had other summer help. We had a couple paras, one of the girls from the kitchen. So we had probably, I think we had 13 or 14 extra people.
Quite a crew.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't all working full-time hours, but
But they're putting some time in.
they put some time in, yeah.
You know,
So,
this storage building over here, what's happening with that?
I need to meet again with
CNC or Craig
no,
Davis?
Craig Davis. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, I have to meet again with Craig Davis. He came out a while back, but I kind of got off the radar and just talked to him.
I'm sure
Not
it's
too long
on
ago,
radar
Bob.
either.
Yeah, so I need to get him back out here to look at it again. And
His crew was finishing up the trail on the junior high.
right. So. So otherwise, I mean, most of those students were in the schools cleaning, helping in the schools.
Overnight and out too, so.
Yes. Yeah, we had a couple over at Eisenhower and the rest, I mean, everybody was scattered throughout. But they were helpful. They got a lot done. I'm feeling mostly pretty good about where we're at for school starting. And surprisingly, I'm probably most confident with Eisenhower of all the schools. But senior high, I'm a little concerned about, but with the projects going on, it's been pretty difficult. We're not going to be able to get some of those areas actually fully cleaned. Obviously, the project's going to continue on into the school year. So, but the other buildings are in pretty good shape.
The sports season is coming up, the one in the men's restroom at the football stadium. There's 3 urinals. One has been covered up since, I don't know. I mean, that was in the spring. I don't know. Has it been fixed at all?
Okay. I haven't looked at that. I'll make a note.
Because there's no home game, well, at least for football, but soccer, I'm sure has some.
Yeah, we have,
Football's not until like September 12th or something.
Yeah.
the first 3 are way over there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with only 3 urinals, I mean, you have one now that's.
Makes for a long line.
Yeah.
We don't want the guys to be inconvenienced.
For sure. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll look into that. like I said, it's been a while since we've been over there, so.
Yeah, just the, plastic bag, like
Make sure
garbage bag over, yeah.
And just take the plastic bag.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I will say this, Dave's report is all the things he didn't get to, but him and his crew got to a whole lot this year, moving an entire building, all these little things that popped up here and there. I was causing problems for him all summer with new tenants at Horace Mann and other things. So him and his crew have done a great job this year in knocking out the lion's share of that to-do list and prioritizing and addressing the things that were urgent. So
But also addressing the maintenance stuff,
100%. I mean,
We didn't get a call about high grass anymore.
that's correct.
Nothing was grown in this heat all summer.
Sometimes
It was growing like crazy.
We've had the two extremes where it rained every other day.
Yeah.
20 days.
Yeah, it went from rainforest to desert like overnight, but yeah, usually we mow once a week in the spring because we get a lot of rain and it grows fast. And then come summertime, we're usually able to cut back to about once every 2 weeks. And we were doing once a week until probably the middle of July. So, but yeah, we tried to make sure we got that taken care of.
So they did a whole bunch of extra stuff, plus normal stuff.
The normal stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Keeping the lights on.
he's focused on all the negatives, but
It
they did
was-
a lot of positives. this year.
And in particular, you had so much extra help. That's good. We got 9 kids that learned how to work,
Yeah.
do things. And so that's great.
Yeah, I think that what we started last year with going to the high school and trying to get some kids out to work with us in the summer has paid off, and it's been successful 2 years now. So I think I want to keep doing that. It's a good opportunity for them, and it helps us out. So
Is there, so these are students then that we've hired to help you do that, or are they kids graduating?
most of them are rising seniors, so they're still in school. We haven't gotten many that had graduated, and
And do they do some of the mowing to help with this, or do they do?
no, I mean, we have 1 or 2 that help with the grounds crew. They don't mow. I don't like putting them on the machines,
Okay.
but they do like, the weed whacking and, trimming shrubs and things like that. So, but for the most part, the students are in the schools helping with the cleaning, just getting the buildings ready.
Okay.
So just, they're basically muscle, just moving furniture around and so that our guys can get in there and scrub carpets and do that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I think it's been successful. Okay.
Anything else for today? You want to switch back down the waters here to Pivotal?
So we have with us tonight, Mr. Trey Barber from Pivotal, just Pivotal, not Pivotal Group or anything, Pivotal.
Who knows?
They're gonna,
Some are good, some are bad.
yeah, they are here. This mic should pick up, but just in case it wouldn't hurt, you gotta, sir, push the button on the bottom. There you go.
This is so that
People joining us from home can. Randy, you want to pull up Mr. Barber's presentation, please?
Yep, just give me a second.
But Mr. Barber is here to talk about a proposal for the Horace Mann building and about one potential outcome. So turn it over.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So while we're waiting for the presentation here to pop up for everyone to see, I'll just do a general intro as to who we are. Kind of skip ahead here. So my name's Trey Barber. I'm Senior Vice President of Development with a group called Pivotal, or Pivotal Housing Partners, sometimes we're called. And we are a multifamily housing developer. We're based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati in a town called Westchester. And I lead development activities for Pivotal in the Northeast. I'm based in Pittsburgh, so I'm about an hour away from here, right north of Pittsburgh, and have been doing work in Western Pennsylvania specifically for probably about the last 15, 16 years. And what we do is we develop affordable housing. And so I'm here to talk about a potential opportunity to help redevelop the Horace Mann School. And so in terms of sort of an overall agenda, we went into a little bit about who we are. We'll talk about what we're trying to do here, how and when we will do it, and sum it up with some final thoughts, and then any questions you all have. There'll be a lot of information here. I'll try to distill it down, but obviously I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have. So again, Pivotal, we're a national multifamily housing developer. I'm sorry, yeah.
Ready, 2 slides ahead, please.
Sorry, Randy. I'm not used to having anybody do this. For me. It's great. Yeah. So again, based out of Ohio, we have about 284 employees. We've done about 150 or so communities and about 10,000 apartments that we've developed and townhomes that we've developed across the country in 17 different states. As of a few months ago, there's all kind of a list there of projects that we have going on in a bunch of different communities, but we have about almost $560 million worth of construction going on this year. We usually develop about 1,000 units a year. And again, we're really specifically focused in the affordable workforce housing space, and probably, maybe close to 70% of what it is that we do is specifically focused on senior housing, which is what we're looking to propose to you here today. So let's go to the next slide, Randy. Thank you, sir. So looking to redevelop the former Horace Mann site here in Indiana. This would be an adaptive reuse project. We're proposing somewhere between 45 to 50 units of housing, depending on once we get in there and take a look at the building. But essentially, from the site that you have there, our goal is to preserve the original school building, kind of in the top left corner of that red box. And then obviously there was an addition that was put on probably in the 60s or so, where the cafeteria and auditorium area are of the school. We'd be looking to demolish that portion of the site, maintain the original building, and do a new construction addition, kind of in line with where that piece that I just, where the cafeteria is, we'd be looking to tear that down. Next slide. Thank you, sir. So, again, this would be an adaptive reuse. We'd be looking to preserve, the original structure of the school there. We'd have a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom senior apartments in this community. We'd have all the standard amenities of any modern apartment building. I mean, this functions just like any apartment building that you drive by or maybe have lived in or do live in. And now we have a fitness facility, management offices, community spaces for the residents that would be there. We also provide resident services to folks that are there. So that is kind of concierge services, but also wellness and other types of services that we can provide to our residents there. This is an independent living facility, but we do a lot of flu shots and different things that we bring into the community to help the residents that are there. The development itself will be 100% fully visitable, meaning that anybody with accessibility needs will be able to get to any apartment in the facility. We'll also have a large amount of fully accessible units for those that may need those as well. So full grab bars, roll-in showers, those types of things for the tenants that may need that. We'll also have tenant storage for folks, off-street parking, and overall it's about an $18 million investment in the borough, and that's what we're looking at. It's from a design perspective. We haven't really fully gotten into all of design yet. I was able to tour the building earlier this summer and appreciate those that were able to help me get into there. But essentially, from a physical layout perspective, in the original building, it's almost a classroom becomes an apartment. And you'll see later on some of the buildings that we've done in the past to illustrate that. So depending on where the classroom is, how those things line up, we may have to remove some walls or shift some things around. But essentially, classrooms line up pretty well with an overall size of the apartments that we're doing. And then the new construction piece, obviously, we'll be able to build those to similar standards that we have there. But in the original structure itself, we're probably looking at around 20 to 22 units in the original Horace Mann building, school building. And then the new construction addition will have the remainder of the units that we're proposing in there, somewhere between 20 to 30 units in there. Next slide, Randy. So in terms of how and when we'll do it, we're kind of at stage 1 and stage 2. We're kind of in the middle there. You know, we're seeking some of your input. We'll be doing similarly with the town as well, seeking site control so that we can move into the next level. We did present, you know, a letter of interest to purchase the building, and happy to answer any questions on that may pop up. But after that, you know, if we're fortunate enough to be selected to redevelop the site, you know, we'll move into preliminary entitlements, working with the town itself to understand any zoning or any other regulations that we need to go through at this stage. Then the crux of the project really kicks off at stage number 4 there on there, applying to PHFA for tax credit. So this is the crux of how the financing of these developments work. PHFA stands for the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. And when we're developing affordable or workforce housing, we utilize tax credits that are federal tax credits that are given to each state. And the states determine how they want to allocate these tax credits across the Commonwealth. And that's how a lot of independent senior housing is being built, you know, throughout the Commonwealth as well. So these credits are managed. What we essentially do, in a very quick version of how this works, I'm happy to go into more detail as you want. If we are allocated these tax credits, well, our capital stack of how it is that we develop these things, our financing involves these tax credits. It involves conventional financing, going to a bank and getting loans. Sometimes there are soft funds that come into the project as well to help these things along. And then obviously our time and resources and financial input that we put into the developments as well. But
What kind of equity stake do you take in it, if any?
in terms of the money that we put up, it generally is, I mean, obviously of the capital stack, the majority of the funding is these tax credits. It's about 70 to 80% of the financing that's there. With those tax credits, and I'm not avoiding your question, I just want to set up the whole the whole thing. The tax credits, again, provide 70 to 80% of the financing that gets layered in with any conventional debt or any other soft debt that we may have with these things. As part of that, of these tax credits, we syndicate these tax credits or sell them to an investor. In most cases, 99% of the time, that's a banking investor like a PNC Bank or First National Bank. We do a lot of work with a lot of different banks around here and across the Commonwealth. S&T has been an investor in a variety as well. So they are providing an equity infusion into the deal. They'll take these tax credits. The tax credits are a dollar for dollar reduction on corporate income tax that the banks and other folks may have. They make an equity investment into the deal for those credits. So that they want to buy these credits to offset their tax burden. They can also get other benefits that they need to from a banking perspective of investing within their communities. So they partner with us on that. The bank is a partner in the deal with us. It's not just taking out a loan or something to that effect. The bank actually forms a limited partnership with us. And they provide equity to the deal, which in turn they take the tax credits. We're guaranteeing those tax credits to them, and as well as any other bank financing that we may have as well in here. And then usually it ends up being somewhere between 10 and 15% of our equity that goes into the deal.
And does that go in first or just?
It all goes in together. So in the pre-development stage of the project, this is all of us putting in all of our funds up front. If we strike out and we miss out, then that's our loss. That's our risk that we're taking, at the upfront of this. But then all the financing gets closed together in one giant package. So it's not a project that moves together piecemeal or anything like that. It's a whole, it's a whole process where on the $18 million deal, all of that financing would be closed at once and the project would move forward immediately following that. So that's essentially how the process works in terms of how the capital stack of these things come together. And the reason for that, for these tax credits that were created in the 80s was to try to figure out a way for private business to invest in more affordable housing options across the country. Before it was just market rate housing that would happen, whatever the market was, that's what it was. And then you had public housing and those types of things were the only other options that were there. And so this was an intermediary step to say, how do we incentivize private development to come into this world? And so the tax credit program was created out of that. By utilizing the tax credits, we're not borrowing as much money from a bank. Therefore, we don't have as much debt service as a bank may, or as a traditional market rate development may be. And because of that, we're able to keep our rents much lower. And we're required as a part of the tax credits to keep rents low. So that's how the tax credits flow in. Yes, sir.
So do the banks then resell shares of this limited partnership to smaller investors?
They usually don't. This is like, there can be a variety of different ways that they're doing. Most of the banking partners that we're working with, and this can be any partner can do this. So it could be a business that needs to offset taxes. It could be an individual that wants to do that. As well can form these partnerships. Just 99% of the time it ends up just being a banking partner because they're also then providing loans and they're providing other things to the project as well. But sometimes it is a bunch of banks working together or a bunch of different businesses that may form a fund to do that. And there's different groups that kind of oversee those funds. That's the syndication part. There's syndicators that oversee these funds of multiple banks that may not have a need for that amount of tax credits. But most of the time it's a single bank that's coming in. They're using that to offset their tax burden. So that's how the process works. And that's what it fundamentally was created to be able to do, to be able to provide sort of a long-term affordable component where you're not layered with a bunch of debt forcing you to increase rents as you go forward. So that process, we apply for that. That'll probably be sometime in the winter. The agency, the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency that handles the credits for Pennsylvania, they usually have one round a year. Over the last few years, that's what it's been. They haven't announced an official time period for that, but that's what we're anticipating just based on past
When does
performance.
it usually happen?
It usually happens in January or February is when.
You apply and then when do you expect to?
And then it usually, like this past round, we applied at the beginning of February. We're going to find out next month who has been awarded it. So it usually takes about 6 to 8 months for them to make a decision. And then once that decision is made, then we move into full design, any engineering that we may need to do on there, any final entitlements that we need to do. That happens over the time we get that tax credit award. That's the biggest crux. The rest of the financing pieces tend to fall into place from there. And we'll move into, fully going over our skis in that regard in terms of making sure that we're fully designed, engineered, we have all entitlements, building permits, all of those things ready to go. And then we'd be looking to close on this probably in this timeline, probably in the third quarter of 2027.
What's an entitlement?
Any zoning, any NPDS permitting, any HOP permitting that may be required. If it's a state road, there's a variety of different hoops that we need to jump through, similar to, I'm sure, what you guys face as you're working on your buildings. We have to go through those similar processes. So we would close financial closing. Again, all financing would happen at once, as well as a purchase of the building. And we're proposing probably the third quarter of 2027. And these dates can shift and move around, but this is generally how the process would work. Construction usually takes about 12 to 14 months to get done. And we would imagine having the project fully built out, fully leased up, and moving forward with a nice ribbon cutting, probably in the fourth quarter of 2028. So it does take a long time. All good things take a little bit of time and a little bit of effort. But that's kind of the fast track way of getting these projects together. Randy, can you move to the next one, please? So a little bit more about us and why we have an interest in this. We do a lot of this particular type of work of converting these old schools. Here are some of the recent examples that we've done. Cannonsburg Lofts. This is in Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania. Don't hate on me about naming of these things. That's a different department than mine. But that was with Canon-Camillin School District. That was the First Street Elementary School closed down in that district, similar to, for whatever reason, similar to Horace Mann. The building became available. We worked with the district, bought the building from the district, preserved the original sort of 1920s structure of the building, took off sort of the rear dog leg of the building, similar to what we're proposing here at Horace Mann, and built a new construction addition on there. So we were able to kind of mix an old and a new together. So on the left is the.
How long did that project take from beginning to get it?
So that one, like from when we first started envisioning it, or the actual construction piece?
Both.
So the actual envisioning was probably in 2017 was when the original one
I've
was.
seen it. I've seen
I
it.
mean, and then we opened in 2021. So that was about a four-year time frame to get through there.
Through COVID.
Yeah, that was also, the world was shutting down there during that time as well. So you can see, the original structure there on the left. In the middle is just an aerial view where you can see where the original structure connects with the new structure. And then the last view there is kind of looking from the parking lot view of what sort of the old and the new blending together look like. The one down below is our newest project that we recently completed. This project opened in April of this past year, Morning Sun Senior. This is in East Vandergrift in Westmoreland County. This school, shut down probably back in the 90s. I think it was in the 90s, and the school was in terrible disrepair. And we worked with Westmoreland County and the Redevelopment Authority there, and some of the leadership in East Vandergrift Borough to bring this building kind of in the heart of their community that was deteriorating rapidly. Floors were collapsing, roofs were gone. It was in pretty bad shape. We were able to rebuild it and bring it back to life in a very similar way to what I proposed there. We were able to maintain the original, structure to it, took off the gym auditorium piece there and built a new construction addition on the back. The little rectangle that you can see in that other picture there of what it looks like. This one was probably much more, the building was very far gone when we got this, and it ended up being about a $16.5 million project at the time, 42 total apartments. But we essentially we were able to maintain really only the major stair towers and the major central components of the building, because a lot of the wings of the building were so far gone. We essentially had to take them down to foundation and rebuild them. But we rebuilt them in the style that the original building was, and blended everything back together. So the central stair tower, that's kind of hard to see there. That's original, back from the 20s. But everything else there was, for the most part, was rebuilt in the footprint of the original building, but to mimic what the original building was.
Would you expect the Indiana County Redevelopment Authority to be involved in this anyway? I mean, do you normally have that? Because they have money.
Yeah, it depends. We'll definitely be talking with the county and those folks. If we're able to move forward with this, we'll be having all of those conversations with everybody to try to understand what some of the needs may be, for the county. If there's specific things that we want to target, how we can help in any way with our redevelopment that would help move forward with their planning, any of their planning processes. So it's not a prerequisite to do that. In that particular case, in Westmoreland County, this building was privately owned, kind of forgotten about, tax delinquent. In that regard, the Westmoreland County Land Bank,
We don't have a land bank.
Yeah, which was part of the Redevelopment Authority. They acquired the building. The Redevelopment Authority was able to take care of any past taxes and some of those other things there to kind of prepare the way for us to be able to move forward with it. So sometimes it's integral and it's necessary for that. This one was kind of a major project in the community, but also had other sort of outstanding concerns just because it had been forgotten about, had changed hands multiple times. Nobody did anything with it. As I mentioned, floors were collapsed, trees were growing out of it. It was a major blight on the community. So it took a lot of hands on deck to bring this one back. Randy, if you could move to the next one, please. A couple other ones that we have here start at the bottom there. Mount Union, this is in Huntington County in Mount Union, PA. This is 44 units of senior housing. All of these projects that I'm showing you here are senior housing. They work very well in old school buildings. Mount Union and Huntington County, again, from the aerial view that you can see there, the original school is on the right. The portion to the left was a new construction piece that we put on to help get us to the unit count that we needed to make these things work. And so very similar, it was a lot of blending of old with new. And that one, because of sort of the forward facingness of the building, it was kind of on the main street, across from the borough building, next to the police station, fire station, and was a very public building. The way the building was oriented, the new construction piece that we did to the left, is a lot of brick and kind of mimics the construction of the original building to give it that proper finish. And that one we finished up about this time last year. It is leasing up. And then the one at the top is the residence at Eagles Point in Eaton, Ohio. That's a 40-unit senior apartment building that we did in Ohio. This is just to illustrate, we've done a lot of these old buildings. We've been through a lot of these old buildings. Some groups are much better suited to adaptive reuse type projects because you never know kind of what's behind the walls when you get into these. And obviously, Horace Mann has been very well maintained throughout the years. So we're excited to work on a building that still has a roof and still has lots of positives about it. But a new construction development is obviously easier for a lot of folks because you can control your own destiny in a lot of ways there. And so the adaptive reuse is not for the faint of heart to come in here and try to take on some of these old buildings, but it's something we have a passion for. We love trying to take these old buildings that struggle to be reintegrated into a new life in the community, and we can figure out a different way to utilize that and provide housing and maintain the buildings within the communities that they've served. Next slide, please, if you could. Just glancing through these, this is again just more of our kind of Western PA portfolio here. I've done a lot of different projects around here. We have a lot of stuff, Allegheny Point, Burkett Place, as I mentioned, Canonsburg, Walker's Ridge. Next slide, if you could. And then these are some of the recently completed ones. As I mentioned before, the Morning Sun School, adaptive reuse, and then Monaca Loft, Beaver County in Monaca and Beaver County, about a $15 million development. That was on the former site of the Monaca Public Library. We worked with the community there to redevelop that corner into 39 units. That building opened up in April as well of this year. So we've done a lot of old projects. We've done a lot of new projects, this is just a smattering of the 150 plus communities that we've done, across the country. If you could move on to the next one. So kind of summing it up, I've given you guys a lot of information. It's about an $18 million overall investment in the community. Really with these developments can really encourage a lot of, we call it the circle of life in a lot of communities, taking these old buildings and repurposing them into senior housing can allow that are integrated within the community themselves, allows for that relocation of existing seniors that may be in their homes, want to stay in their community, don't have a place to go and stay within their communities, end up staying in their homes. Maybe maintenance starts to fall down a little bit around them. It allows them to have an opportunity within their communities to relocate into a senior-focused facility and then put their houses back on the market. Hopefully some new families move in, and hopefully that benefits the school districts and other folks here as well. Obviously, it'll be an important community asset. This building has been there for over 100 years. Everybody is well aware of it, and we're looking to continue to have that building stay here. Another important facet to boroughs and school districts is we pay real estate taxes, property taxes. So this will be probably the first time ever that this particular property would be on the tax rolls. But we are a for-profit development group, and all of our properties do pay real estate taxes as well. So the borough, the county, and the school district will benefit from that. Obviously, bringing in 45 to 50 new senior apartments into Indiana. The building meets green standards. There's a variety of different certifications, that are out there. We evaluate that based on the building condition and some of the things we can meet with the building, whether that's a LEED certified building or an enterprise green community or a net zero energy ready home. There's all sorts of different things, but one thing we can guarantee, we will be certified under the appropriate program, and it'll probably be one of the greenest and most sustainable buildings that currently exists in Indiana. So we're proud of that. And then lastly, what I think is most important might not necessarily be important to the parties here, but to the community and to the borough itself is everything is we own and we manage our own properties. So we're not a developer flipper. It's not what we do. So we buy the properties, we develop the properties, and we manage our own properties. So the folks that'll be working there, managing it, and working with the residents are Pivotal employees. The maintenance staff that we have working on it are Pivotal employees, and not a third-party group. So any problems that were to pop up, and hopefully there aren't, but there's always something that pops up at some time in the future, you're dealing directly with us. And not with a third-party group, a faraway owner. It's not part of it. So that's it in a nutshell. I've given you guys, Randy, you can go to the next one, but I've given you guys a lot of information here. Hopefully some of it was helpful. We still have a long way to go here, but we're at kind of step 1 or 2 here of saying, if we're able to, be fortunate enough to work with you all and get the property under contract, we'll be able to move into those next phases and those next steps of the project, and hopefully be in a position to convert Horace Mann into an ongoing senior housing facility that benefits the town and the district going forward. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Question.
Mhm.
In terms of if we were to do business together, in terms of a sales agreement, how would that work with the application process with the state? Do they have to see that you have it under contract first before they approve because that's a nice tax credit. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, that's a threshold item. That's why I'm here talking to you all first, about this is, we need to be able to show some semblance of site control. So within that purchase sales agreement or option agreement or however, way we want to structure this, and we just proposed a purchase sales agreement, we can have all of the different caveats in there that, if we don't meet zoning or if a certain threshold isn't met, that there's different triggers to allow the district to be able to move out or for us to move out. But we do need to have control and be able to show the agency that has the tax credits that this project
So
can move
control's
forward.
not necessarily a deed.
That's correct. Correct. Yeah, we wouldn't be looking to purchase the building right now. We want to make sure everything is together, all the financing is all together. So right now we just need to have control mechanisms to say we have the right to do this if we're able to move forward and have our financing to do this.
So to follow up on Julia's question, when I look at the slide, where in this slide would you anticipate the actual transfer of the deed to occur?
So yeah, that would be number 7.
For the third quarter of 2027.
That's what we would anticipate.
So
Where all the financing, everything comes together. So once we get the tax credit award, that allows us to know that we've got, usually when that happens, all the other funding comes in place, right? So we're able to secure our construction loans. We're able to secure any other soft financing or hard financing that we may have on the project. Everybody's now comfortable that there's the crux of the financing is in place here. And then we need to complete all of our due diligence, our full design, all of those things during that interim time from when we get the credits to a time that we can actually close on it.
So you're about 2 years out then, because we're in the third
Yeah.
quarter of
Yeah.
2025 now.
From today, yes, sir.
Okay.
So the real risk is you don't get the credits
The risk is we don't get the credits.
and we hold on to the building and then
And we've tied it up.
tied it up for 2 years and waiting. That's the real risk that anybody would have to take on this side.
That's correct. So, yeah, so we'd be looking at, from that standpoint, it would be, the real risk is through probably let's say this time next year, October, September of next year is when we'll find out whether we have the credits or not. At that stage, although you're still holding the property, once you get to that stage, 99% of, we've never had one that hasn't closed. So once we get those tax credits in hand, we have 100% kind of completion rate of carrying it all the way through.
Are those tax credits based on the merit of the project or are they like a lottery system?
Yeah, so each year, the state, the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, which is one of these quasi-governmental entities, that they're kind of a private business that the federal government gives, but the governor appoints their board, and each year they come up with what they call a qualified allocation plan. And this plan outlines, here are the criteria that we're looking for this year. Here's the types of projects we want to target, the different set-asides we may have, like, hey, we want to put more money into we need more affordable senior housing this year in the Commonwealth. So we're going to reserve more of these credits for senior housing, or we need more urban development, or we need more rural development. So they come up with a bunch of criteria that we need to work through and get. So there's a scoring metric that's involved as well. So they go through and rank and score everything. And then obviously there's other qualitative things in terms of the public support, for it, the political support for it. Those things all come into play as well. But there is a scoring metric that we need to hit and make sure that we follow as well. So it's not a lottery system per se.
Sure.
It's a scoring. And that's the best scoring project wins.
And so with the sales agreement, is there any money down?
Yeah, so we were proposing putting some money down into escrow that would be there, for it. There can be different triggers for when those things are. That all still needs to be negotiated. But yes, there'd be money down. I think the LOI we gave you, it was 10,000 down or something like that we were planning to do.
What part of like I know right now it's not zoned, it's only zoned, what is it, P1, I believe. What phase do you guys go and try to get the zoning?
That would be the immediate one right after that. So if we're able to come to an agreement and understanding that that we have control over the building and we can do something with it, that's my next call, is to make sure, because if we don't make zoning, I'm not going to keep you guys hanging out, over this either, because that's the critical component. If we don't have zoning, then we're not able to move forward with the project. And at that stage, it would be shake each other's hands, say, sorry.
Next time, maybe next time.
Yeah.
Indiana Borough is rewriting that zoning from zero. And one of the things they're doing is trying to make things like this happen. So what was a problem in zoning on the old code? Because it was very black and white. And they now have a lot of flexibility in the new code. So they want something like this to happen. This is not the only commercial property in the residential zone. I don't think zoning is going to be
But it has to be in place. I mean, I've heard they've
No,
done
no,
this too, but they have to vote and approve
Oh,
it
yeah,
and then do it before.
and the last meeting I went to, they're getting ready to present it, the final draft to council. Okay, so it's not a dream, actually.
That's like in the next 2 to 4 months, probably.
Hopefully, yeah, it's, and, they're going to wrestle with a lot of stuff, but I'm encouraged that they're doing it. I think like it's gonna make life a little easier to do stuff in the boroughs. And encourage some more development.
But that is a critical piece, right? Because I can't do anything, with it if I can't build it. So that's the next call that's made, to sit there and try to go through that, understand it. Obviously, as Tom said, they're working through new zoning codes, so we need to understand what all of those rules are. So there are some due diligence pieces in here that need to fall into place. But that's another trigger on the purchase sales agreement, that if we don't have zoning in place or aren't able to get zoning, then obviously we would not be able to proceed, with it.
So, Trey, one of the issues that we have as a public entity or public interest here is that we are restricted in how we can dispose of certain assets. And I know in your letter you mentioned a figure, but that may or may not be able to meet that particular figure without going to the court and or jumping through a whole bunch of other hoops, if it's to be some sort of a private arrangement where we sell direct to you without going an auction or bidding or that sort of thing.
Sure.
So the question then is, I've never done any projects like this, but in smaller stuff, a lot of it's in the buy and not in the sell. And so my question is, how sensitive is that dollar figure if we don't get the right appraisals?
Yeah, so it's a great question, right? And especially in this world with tariffs aren't happening, the economy is kind of moving around on here. There is flexibility. I would encourage an appraisal or something to that effect to make sure that we're all comfortable, with where we're at. Obviously if it comes in $1 million more than what I offered, that's going to be a hard, a hard thing to do. So, but if we're still negotiating in the realm there and we're always willing to go back and look at the numbers again and try to figure out what we can do. So, it is one of those things of saying, let's look at an appraisal. Let's try to understand where we're at. We can try to meet you there.
That's the one, if it was just you and me sitting down over a cup of coffee, it's one thing, but when we have the public interest and some of the rules that we have to follow, we can't necessarily make the deal maybe we want to make.
Yeah, completely understand it. And really this LOI that, was presented was to start the ball rolling, and like, this is a figure that works. And this is a figure that we've, seen in the past and been able to make these things work on these things, but also to start the conversation, that we're having here as well. Because I do know you have to go through the court, you have to go through, some other processes. And so we just need to start somewhere.
As I understand it, we can sell it for the appraised value without going to the court.
Okay.
But if we go below that, then I think it takes court approval. Is that not correct, Jared?
I'm not 100% sure. We have to check with Mr. Repack.
Yeah, that's a
Either way, I think we may need some type of court approval.
It's my understanding that I think either way, the court needs to do something. There may be an extra court process if you're selling under, but I think either way, it needs to go through some sort of court process. At least that's the way it was in past school districts that I've worked with.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, I do appreciate you making the trip out. And
Yeah, well, thank you. It's the start of a long road, with it. I think, we can do something that makes the district proud and obviously makes the borough proud with what it is that we do. I'd encourage anybody to ask any questions, check up on us as an organization, whatever it is you need to do. If you need references, you need something else, we're happy to provide those. Don't hesitate to call around.
One last technical question.
Sure.
Right now, because it was used as an elementary school, there's a playground area to the side of it. That playground area is used by the community during non-school hours.
Mhm.
It will be demolished as part of this project.
Most likely. I don't exactly remember that one's, it's closer to Fifth is where the playground is, right?
No, it's south.
Yeah, south side, so it's all pavement. I think it's really going to, so there's a couple things with that. One is liability. You know, those types of ongoing liability, those types of concerns. We're happy to try to work with the community. I'm just looking at the.
I'm just trying to anticipate
Yeah.
whereas beyond the zoning that
Mhm.
Doug and Tom kind of addressed, you know, there may be some pushback because from the local neighborhood
I get it.
that use that facility over and above the school building.
One of the things that the new zoning code is going now is that they're allowing the developer to determine the number of parking spaces. So under the old code, we would have had to do 2 parking spaces per unit. Now you can do 1 or half, and the borough is probably going to allow us to maintain the street parking. So if we had to do 2 parking spaces, then that whole area becomes parking. So there is some flexibility. I mean, actually, the new code may allow to have more green space than the old code would.
Well, I'm just trying to anticipate
Yeah.
issues that may come up.
I appreciate that. I mean, I think from a liability perspective, our initial version is going, yes, we probably need to remove that. And there may be parking requirements or some other things that we need to be. But we're happy to evaluate it, happy to understand it, and happy to even try to figure out if there's a way to carve off a piece. If you know, the town would like to, you know, maintain a park space there, we're happy to look at those types of things and try to understand it. You know, we're not opposed to doing it. We want to be a part of the community. We want to try to understand all those bits and pieces, and this will allow us to get to that next step to understand some of those questions that are going to be popping up.
Just so you
And
know,
then
we
we
do have
address
a
them.
foundation, the Indiana Area Education Foundation.
Yes.
It's doing very well
Okay.
so far.
And we're happy to explore all of those things and try to understand what we can do. And diving into this new zoning is going to be a fun exercise. And if it gives us the flexibilities to you know, to do things a little bit differently, you know, as Tom mentioned, a lot of times we're being dictated by the number of parking spaces. And I'm talking to municipalities going, please don't make me pave over this entire site, you know, just for parking, because even in our senior communities, a lot of them, you know, we have a lot of empty parking lots. Especially some of our integrated, more urban senior housing developments. People like to walk. People don't need their cars, or they want to get rid of those things. So it's always a push and pull on the parking side of things to request. I don't fill up every bit of green space with a parking lot. But we're happy to understand, you know, review those things, understand it, and try to see where we can help in any way.
Thank you. I know what it did to Punxsutawney about 10, 12, 15 years ago, how it changed their downtown with the school
Oh, yeah.
buildings. So
Yeah. I did a development there called Grace Place. It was in a different life in Punxsutawney. There, so we didn't do a school, but it was an old house in a corner property there. So.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Commercial.
Yes. No problem. No problem at all. In this one. Sure. Any questions? Don't hesitate to reach out. Robert, I'll just follow up with you in a couple days and just see what the next steps are.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Travis.
You are indeed, sir.
Okay, just to give you an update on transportation. We have our routes for the most part 80-90% complete, depending on any changes, additions, enrollments in the next week or so before school starts. By combining Eisenhower and Horace Mann schools, as well as changing the start and end times for some of the elementary schools. We've been able to cut 5 buses and 3 vans from last year's runs.
Pretty good, pretty good.
We did increase the time on some of those, on the runs that we do have now. So there is a clause in the contract that we have to pay the company for runs that are more than 5 hours long. So we pay back a little bit, but we're looking at around $280,000 to $300,000 savings from last year. So after everything's said and done.
That's great.
That is good work.
We did do the survey to get a parent survey out to see who is actually going to be using the transportation. We got about 83% response just by,
Good high.
we pestered the heck out of them. Wes was good about, I'd send Wes updates as far as the responses we received, and anybody that didn't give us a response back, he sent something back out to him. So, yeah, we got a good response rate from that. I don't really have a figure as far as how many are opting for parent transportation, but it's a decent amount. I mean, that helped in removing the, removing some of the buses too. So
Yeah, I want to say it was about 10%, wasn't it?
that might be about right.
10% opted for,
Opted out.
opted out.
Yeah, I'll tell you here in a second. If it loads.
That's over 200 kids.
I want to say it was roughly that. It might have been 8%, but it was.
200 to 300 kids. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
That's a lot of buses.
It is. Yeah.
There's probably the same amount of kids that never rode the bus anyway. They're just,
At least now we know.
yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, we've been transferring a lot of air.
Saved us, maybe going down a street that we didn't need to go down. So just depends on where the students were located and things like that. But yeah, I think overall, I think it was
9.7%.
it was, the survey we got a favorable response success rate out of that survey. So should help us out a little bit.
Any negative pushback?
1 or 2.
We have one. Someone shared some colorful words from Mike.
1 or 2. So, but
Their thoughts about the survey. Other than that, a couple people were frustrated with it. I happened to fill it out for several kids, but it is what it is, so different kids have different needs. If you have who can drive themselves and you have a third grader that needs a ride, then the circumstance is different. So
yeah, I recommend that we do this every summer, every June as school lets out.
For the ones that opt out this year, still have to fill it out for next year. They're just opting out for a year.
Yeah, we understand their conditions may change. They may move from one, their child may move from one building to another. That might change their.
And the policy you all passed, again, has a clause in it that says that anybody that wants to opt back in, they just have to give us up to 5 days to arrange transportation. And we'll do it. All they have to do is send us
Do the
a
best we can.
request in writing, and, we'll adjust the buses and make sure they get picked up.
They may have to give a little bit, as far as getting to a point on the route or something like that, but we'll do the best we can.
So, yeah, we're very pleased with the results, obviously. It was a nice, Mike did a great job. It's a lot of data to process, but, him and Laura and Wes, got through it all and, got to a point where it helped eliminate some of those runs, which is tremendous. It was the goal. So,
How many buses are running? What do you run this year?
24 big buses. I'd have to look. I'm not exact. I'll give you numbers. Probably, we're looking at like 24 big buses.
Went from 29 to 24.
Yeah. And
That's a big deal.
like I said, we cut vans. We have quite a few vans running just because of special needs and,
Yeah.
So
How many vans do we have?
More
So
than
we're
10.
parking full of
Yeah.
them. Parking
Yeah,
lot
see
full of
them. I
them.
just didn't know if that was, I didn't know if there's more or less.
There's a couple
I've
more
also
down, there's a
seen
couple more
a
down at
couple.
down at the garage, yeah, so. We're strapped for space down there, so we're doing what we can,
Well,
so
weren't
eliminating
they
5
gonna
buses
Try
will,
to move their, was that the people we hired? They were thinking about moving out to Aaron,
No,
somewhere near
that was-
Aaron. Was that the
yeah.
other?
I would like to point out that the, old quick base might become available.
I just thought about that today when I drove past. I thought that's been sitting empty for quite a while.
Well, another time. So I don't know where it is, but
What did you just say?
the quick pick the other side of us.
Did you say somebody died?
Oh, no, one died.
Rumble? Was it Rumble?
I don't really know.
We do, Wes said he's gonna be sending out notifications tomorrow, and Bright Arrow sending out a blast to families that they can access the student schedules and bus information through Power School. That's how they're gonna be getting their information. We won't be mailing anything out this year. It'll be all done through.
I don't
Anybody
even think
that's
it'd be on there right now, because I got on.
Yeah, and
Because it says
it's up to
opted
date.
out, opted out.
It is up to date, so, the changes that we make, it takes the data to transfer over to Power School, but the information should be up to date as of tomorrow. Any changes we make today, so.
And you know, Mike, even though you want to send that survey out every year, I think once the parents kind of get used to that, that's the routine, just like having to sign off on the student handbook and so on and so
I
forth,
agree.
it'll become a little more rote and, you know, particularly if they get a little experience at how to fill the survey out and what's actually happening, why it may not be quite as big a deal.
That was our first attempt at it. I think, we can take from what we got from it, streamline it a little bit, make it maybe a little more easy, efficient for them, try to make it.
The first question could be, there's no change to my student
I was gonna say,
situation.
that's where you get people complaining next year. I already upped it
Right.
last year. I don't need to be on a bus.
But if the first question is, there's no change to my preferences, skips to the end, submit. Takes 2 seconds to fill it out. That would be nice for the people that
Yep.
have done it. So that's hopefully we'll
Yeah, you
reduce
might
some
be
of
able- You might be able to send it where it's a default. Where if they don't fill it out, they'll change the.
so,
Fill it
But
out.
I mean, obviously, like I said, we're very happy with these results because this was something we started, during the budget season when we knew there was a crisis coming and we, Mike's work to save us, well over $300,000 is
It's two teachers.
a huge plus. That's correct. So thank you to him and the whole team that worked on that. It was good.
I see Kat's with us. Do you want to split to solar at the high school? Is that her?
Okay, was there any other update from anything
No,
to
I got-
finish the transportation?
Unless there's any questions, that's where we're at so far.
Then yeah, I would say let's be mindful of our yes time. So
Okay. Kat, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear
So-
me?
yeah, we can. Yeah, absolutely. So Kat is with PA Solar. She's going to talk about the feasibility study that we have had done and present some options for us. So take it away, Kat. Thank you.
Cool. Do you want me to share my screen or are you gonna pull up the preview, the financial analysis or like the review? Doesn't matter.
Whichever you prefer. I can pull it up, or if you can share your screen if you want to.
Okay. Then I'll just share my screen. Okay, let me. So it's saying, yeah, okay. Sorry. There we
Board
go.
members, you should have a copy of the packet or handout in front of you.
Okay. So you guys should be able to see my screen now, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay. So, for anyone who doesn't know who we are the Pennsylvania Solar Center. We're a nonprofit that helps businesses and just community entities go solar. So we put together a feasibility study for you guys, based off of a conversation that we've had with Tom Harley and then Jared Kronar, my apologies if I'm saying the name wrong, about a proposed ground mount system on in the high school property, behind the field. So if you see here, I think if you can see the picture, these blue lines here would be essentially representing the solar array. So this would be like the property next to the solar field behind the box, like the presenter box by the road. So essentially Tom Harley had suggested that this would be a good option for you guys to put solar on the property. The thought would be that you guys would be using a power purchase agreement. So we can go into that of what a power purchase agreement means, but essentially high level is that there would be no cost to you or the school for utilizing a power purchase agreement, but you would reap the benefits of having solar on your property. So just for some high level numbers for anyone who understands, like, these solar systems, you'd be looking at about a 418 kilowatt system, producing 478,000 kilowatt hours of clean energy in year one. And this solar array will offset around 36% of the high school's current electric consumption. So when you're looking at the financial metrics, now remember too, this is for the PPA financier. This is not for you guys, but just in general, when you're looking at the pricing of things, the upfront cost would be close to $1 million looking at someone funding this, but they will get back incentives from federal aid and then also a rebate from the electric company. And their net system cost, so they'd be looking at putting in about $529,000 after all is said and done. Obviously, these are all rough numbers, but gives you a general sense of like what the general financing structure would look like. For you guys, on what things that you would need to be aware of is that over 30 years, you'd be looking at saving almost $400,000, and you would be saving over $1,000 just in year one. The nice thing about this is it does hedge against like the rising electricity rates in Pennsylvania. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are aware that electricity rates are going up and they will continue to go up. So your savings over the 30 years will actually probably be better than even what's modeled here because of just recent PJM capacity auctions and everything like that that we've seen. So this is on the more conservative side. The only reason why you're only saving about $1,000 in year one is just because you are utilizing that PPA model, which is essentially you'd be like leasing the electricity from the solar array, which again, we'll get into in a minute. But it's also only offsetting 36% of your electricity based off of just the sizing of the system that we could put in that area. So just for understanding of that. When you actually break down the pricing of what you'd be looking at for savings and your electric rates for that like 36% offset, your savings will obviously get increasingly better every single year because obviously the price of electricity will continue to go up. So as you can see, we've kind of modeled right now it's at a 3% escalation, but we're seeing that it's going to be closer to 4% escalation over time. So this is a pretty conservative model, but that's what we're kind of looking at right now. And then the power purchase agreement side of things, and apologies, my dog is barking in the background, so if you hear him. So essentially a power purchase agreement means that you would bid out to, you would essentially be using like a public bid, because you guys are a public entity, utilizing a public bid, putting out saying that you are looking for a power purchase agreement option to put solar on your property. That means that you would have a financier, usually a developer, but sometimes they use a third-party financier, come in and essentially they would install the system for you. You would go into a lease agreement of the property of like the actual grounds, where they would have the rights to put this system on the property at no cost to you, but they get to utilize it and they would own the rights to that system. The nice thing about that is that they are responsible for the maintenance of the system. They're responsible for making sure the system works over the lifetime of the agreement. Usually it's 25 to 30 years for your PPA. And also they help make sure that you guys are getting the electricity offset that like was guaranteed at the time of the agreement. So it's a nice like agreement for you guys. thing with the PPA is that what happens is that they will build the system and then you agree to purchase the electricity from them at a specified rate. So it's always going to be either at market rate or lower than market rate, usually lower than market rate. So over the span of the lifetime of the system, you'll actually see a savings increase because obviously like you're at like a smaller increase of like your cost of like the electricity based off of the solar because it's not increasing as much as like PJM is increasing. So you can kind of see that with like your current electricity rate here. Obviously it's not going to go like it's not going to fluctuate as much essentially. The nice thing is you can budget for that. So you know what your electricity rate is going to be, at least for that like 36% offset for the 30 years, because you have that locked in. You've agreed to like pay the financier like this much for 30 years over the span of the lifetime of the system. So that's essentially how a PPA works, is you just like essentially lock into an electric rate for 30 years and it's always at a better market rate than you get for the capacity auctions and everything like that. That we're currently seeing in Pennsylvania. So that is what we're looking at. Does anyone have any questions? Is there anything I can help answer?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Julia Kukaro. Go over again, you say the Indiana Area School District agrees to buy electricity from Array. What's Array? I don't understand the use of the word.
Sorry, from the array. So essentially the electricity that you would be making from the solar array, that would be, you would essentially be saying like, I want to purchase that electricity from the solar array at this certain rate. So the rate of the actual purchase rate would be lower than what you would be just buying it off of the grid.
And we're purchasing it from the financier.
Yes. Yeah, like technically you're purchasing it. There wouldn't be anything that you would have to necessarily do because it would all be set up at the beginning whenever the solar array is installed and like put into your electric meter and everything like that. But it's essentially when you break down the numbers of it, it's essentially kind of like buying into the solar array.
So
instead of buying it from Duquesne Light, we'll buy it from Strong Gilday, who owns all these things at a reduced rate.
So you have to be careful who your developer is or your financier, that they're solvent.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we actually we have a couple of companies across Pennsylvania that are like have like they essentially have proven that they will be around for the lifetime of the system, and also too like you can go into different agreements with them of like if something happens like. You can work on like purchasing it from them at like a discounted rate. Like there's a lot of different things you can like work on there, but you would never be left in the lurch essentially of like having the solar array that you couldn't use.
I'm assuming, Kev, that would be fleshed out during the bid process where we would go out and take bids on who we want to build that.
Correct. Yes. You could put different specifications based off of like more of like what the district requires from a bidder. We would obviously Pennsylvania Solar Center, we will give you a list of like things that we always look for in a qualified developer. And like also to provide our list of developers if you wanted to reach out to them, for example. But then also to, you can, in the time of the contract and like in the proposals, you can, ask them questions, get a better sense of that. And then you can put things in the contract of like, if this happens, this will happen type of language.
So there's no PUC guarantee with these developers. In other words, the state doesn't guarantee, come in as a guarantor on these contracts with the financiers.
Correct. Yeah, the state wouldn't have any part in you having a contract with these developers or financier.
And so this reduced amount is based on their word that it'll be lower than the market price, or I'm struggling to see how.
It'd be by contract.
Yeah, but
So for the reduced rate is essentially when you go into the contract, you will know what your escalation rate is going into it. So usually it's like a 1.5% escalation over the 30 years. Like every year it's a 1.5%. Even if you just do like the math of like what it was for like 5 years ago with Duquesne Light, for example, they were at a 3% escalation rate. So you're already at like half there. We're actually now seeing closer to 4 or 5% escalation rates on electricity bills every year. So keeping it at like that 1.5, even if it went up to 2% escalation, it's still lower.
But so this electricity essentially will come right off the array and go right into our buildings, or does it go out on the grid and then come back in?
It comes essentially, you're still connected to the grid. So it's like through the grid, but you don't have to do any of like the configuration with it. Like that's all something the developer will figure out, like how to manage, like essentially that the electricity that's being put into the grid, you're buying at that certain rate. Yeah, it's a little bit of a complicated process, but it's nothing that you would have, the financier / developer would have to be the one managing that. Essentially, they would make sure that you get that.
Have you done schools before, public schools? Have you?
Yes, yeah. We actually have several schools that are in contract right now and like putting a solar array through a PPA on their property at the moment. Yeah.
It'd be nice if we knew who they were.
Yeah, let me, I can send you a list once I confirm who I'm allowed to share with, because some of the schools haven't gone public yet with like fully an announcement. So until I have like a list of like who is like willing to share, I don't want to like step on toes. But I can connect with my team and get you a list of like what schools would be willing to like, discuss with the process.
How long has your not-for-profit been in business?
Sorry, say that again.
How long has your not-for-profit been in business?
We've been in business since 2019.
Thank you.
Other than the power purchase agreements, there are other ways to go about doing this.
Yes, so you can purchase the system. You can essentially, you can go out and say, we are looking to purchase the system. The thing about purchasing the system is you actually get a better savings over time, because you are not going through like a third-party person trying to buy it at a rate. You are just essentially completely offsetting that whole percentage that the array would be producing. So it's just like a savings back. The biggest thing though is obviously that is, a cost to the district. The district would have to put that money up front. They would be eligible then for the incentives and they would get those back. So you would kind of at the end of like the rebates and incentives and everything, you'd be looking at, what was it, about $530,000. But you would still have an upfront cost of close to $1 million, which is like why a lot of districts don't feel necessarily comfortable with doing that. But if you wanted to see those numbers and stuff, we have them, and we could definitely talk about them.
I'd like to just see a printout on those, the difference.
Yeah, let me,
Yeah, isn't there also an option for almost like a lease to buy, where over a period of time they then eventually become yours?
yeah, so you can put that as a PPA option. That one's a little bit harder to show the financial breakdown of, just because obviously every single person has a differing lease period. So like some people do like a 5-year lease, some people do a 10-year lease. But yes, you can put as you're interested in a lease to buy. You would essentially, they as the PPA owner would put the system in, and then you would pay them a certain amount every year to like then at the 5-year period, you would like work on buying it. Yeah.
The downside of us owning it is we also have to maintain it then. Whereas on the other model, all we're doing is buying electricity from it. Kat, would your group do the bids and the specs?
So since you are a public entity, you would have to utilize your public bid option. Essentially, we would assist with that. We do have templates for public bids that we can put that together for you, or like help put that together. We would obviously encourage any like board review, solicitor review and stuff on your end to make sure it fits within the requirements that your district has, because every district's a little bit different. But we would assist you with that piece. And then also too, once you go through that public opening, like obviously with the bids and stuff, you'd have to do that public opening of the bids and review of them. After that, we can help create an apples to apples comparison, and also help you understand like just some of the things that we see about them, help with interviews or whatnot you have about that. But since you're a public entity, we can't go soliciting the bids for you, but we can assist you with them.
And Chair, how does that work for low bid? like as a district, we have to take a low bid.
We would have to unless there's,
It's the lowest responsible bid.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, could be certain circumstances, if we check references, do different things that would,
Yeah, if we get a low bid, the guy's been bankrupt 3 times, we can
Yeah.
Skip them.
we can skip that. It's a little bit messier, but we can do it.
Yeah. So that's what we do put in those bid documents is the lowest responsible bid based off of certain criteria. So it's things like how they are a qualified developer, like certain certifications that the team has to have, like what their financial metrics have been over the past couple years, that type of thing. So, and you did ask about the breakdown for the purchasing of the system.
Yeah.
Just to give a very high level of that. So on here, you would be looking at essentially, and this would be without any additional like grants or funding opportunities or anything as a payback, but you'd be looking at a payback period between 10 and 13 years. The reason why there's a difference and why it goes between 10 and 13 years is because the system produces, just for working, what's called an SREC. So an SREC stands for a solar renewable energy credit. And the solar renewable energy credits they just accumulate as the system runs. Those credits can be sold on the, essentially there's kind of this free market for them. And they can be sold on the free market, and every credit equals a certain amount. And so you can get back money. And that's why if you sell your SRECs, which we can get into like a whole thing of like why you would sell the SRECs, why you wouldn't, because there's like tax things there. But if you sell your SRECs, you have a better payback period, obviously, because you're essentially getting free money. If you don't sell your SRECs, it takes a little bit longer to do the payback period. So just that's the high level distinction of why there's 2 different ranges for your payback period. And that's something we can go into separately. Just as a note though, for the SRECs belong to the person who finances the system. So whoever owns the system is so the developer or the financier, if you go with the PPA option, would be the ones who would be getting the money from that. If you purchase the system, you get to choose what you want to do with them. So that's why there's a difference, and that's what SRECs are. But yeah.
So Kat, we hear through the news media that the current administration in Washington may have a different philosophy on solar energy and incentives for that.
Mhm.
So what's the story on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm sure everyone heard about that big, beautiful bill that passed back in July. So that bill did change the incentives starting in 2026. So right now the incentives are still in place. You're good. You can, still apply for them, get credit and everything like that. Where it starts to get tricky is that if you are not under contract, and I'll get into what the definition of under contract means, but if you're not under contract by July 4th of 2026, then you have a shorter amount of time to finish the project to be eligible to get those incentive credits. If you are under contract before July 4th of 2026, you have 4 years to finish the project, essentially. So we were trying to encourage as many people as possible to get under the definition of under contract before July 4th. If you go after July 4th, you have until the end of 2027. So if you're between July 4th of 2026 and December 31st of 2027, that's your window to finish the project if you go under contract after July 4th. So, and you can still get the credits at that point. If you go into 2027, aren't under contract, aren't done type of thing, you don't get the credits. Where the definition of under contract is that it means that if you have 5% or more of the project cost put down towards the project, you're under a safe harbor law, which essentially means that at that point you're eligible to apply for the credits. The big thing with the credits and just is something also I would always like to point out, you are eligible for the credits after the project is completed. So you still have to put that full money up front. And then once the project is completed and turned on, that's when you would apply for that 30% back. So you wouldn't actually see those incentives until we say about 18 months, because how slow things go with, rebates and credits and everything. So that's why we have the distinction here between the full price of the solar array and then actually what your adjusted net price would be. So your adjusted net price would kick in after that, like 18 months after getting the rebate back.
Yeah, if we do the power purchase agreement, then all this is kind of invisible to us.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And it would be on the developer to make sure that they are under their contract, you know, that they have proven that they've put money down towards it. They would be the ones looking at the incentives and applying for them and whatnot. You wouldn't have to worry about that.
Will there still be a market for the SRECs after 2027? Will those still be
Yes.
able to be, there'll be value there still?
Yes. So the SRECs are a separate thing than the incentives. So SRECs actually are based off, like the value of an SREC is actually based off of the state that it exists in. So Pennsylvania has their own market for SRECs, and like New Jersey has their own market and stuff like that. So that's more of like on a state side, and it's something that will always, it still exists. Like you can still get credits for your SRECs. It's just the price of it fluctuates. We kind of call it like a stock market because you never really know what it's going to do, but it's pretty stable right now in Pennsylvania, between like $20 and $30. So like per credit.
Thank you.
Any
Are
other
there any
questions?
questions?
How do we move this forward or not?
Just this piece behind the high school stadium thing, you want to move to the board?
You want to take it to that level? Or is there enough support?
I'd just like to get some more information. I mean,
Yeah, I would too.
I mean,
What kind of information?
if you're looking at the savings, you're looking at maybe 13,000 a year. Now it could increase a little bit. Is it worth giving up all that ground up there?
Is it worth the risk if they finance you?
Yeah.
Well, how long does it take to, I mean, how many of these SRECs can you accumulate after you've started per year?
Like the SRECs?
Yeah, whatever you call them, yeah.
Yes, so the SRECs are based off of the sizing of the system. So for every megawatt hour that it produces electricity, you get 1 credit. So that's why so an easy way to see how many you would get per year is essentially you'd look at like the 1 year energy production. So it starts with 478,000. So you're generating 479 because of like the value of like a megawatt versus a kilowatt hour type of thing. But so your maximum amount that you would produce in a year is 479 because obviously things degrade over time. You're kind of losing a little bit of your like how many you would produce, and you can kind of see that here as it breaks down of like each year we do add a little bit of the degradation into it. So, you know, by year 25, we're predicting around 424 SRECs, for example.
And you're saying they're worth about $30 a piece.
It fluctuates. It's hard to say. But like we made the assumption for year 1 on $30, but again, like it could come in at 25, but then the next year be 30. Like again, it's kind of like a stock market. It fluctuates. So
But a stock market has an exchange.
yes. Yeah, so you can sell, it's like a free market. I guess it's not quite like a stock market, but you essentially, it fluctuates and you can sell at like times when you think it's like high or like, you know, you can hold on to them for up to 3 years without them retiring. So you can like sell at like a high point, for example.
Is there a fixed universe of buyers?
Sorry, say that again?
Is there a fixed universe of buyers within the Commonwealth?
Yes. So the reason why people buy them is because it's based off of different tax incentives that you get. So bigger companies that would have like a tax reason or like are told at like a federal level that they have to have like so much like energy offset or whatever, they buy them to essentially buy the rights to say that they have like they use these energies or like they have energy, and you selling the SRECs would essentially be like selling your rights to the energy credits.
So
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense, but who is in this universe of buyers? Like, could you give us some examples of who's prominent in the market right now?
I don't have any names or whatever, but I do know like big corporations. Like it's usually like a lot of like big, you know, like the big Fortune 500 companies are the ones like looking at it.
Could we see a list of those current on?
I can see if I can find a list. I don't honestly know where that would exist, but let me look real quick to see.
You could give me something to look at.
Cat,
Yeah, let me see if I can find.
Cat,
Yes.
is this like the, carbon credits where if a particular plant or industry is producing more carbon than what it's supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
they
Yes.
buy these credits and that allows them to produce the additional carbon, because technically it's a zero sum game with them where it is offset by these carbon credits you're getting out of the solar. Is that basically what you're doing here?
Yes, that's exactly what that is. Companies like that are, like you said, producing more carbon than they're allowed. They purchase these credits to be able to essentially say, oh, like we're now offsetting it.
So a steel mill, a large coal or gas-fired power plant, would all be potential markets for this type of a deal.
Subsidizing the market.
Yeah, if you go onto Google and just type in PA SREC, so like SREC, you'll pop up with like a bunch of information. You can even see like what's going on in Ohio. You can see, you know, what's going on in the other states as well. But Ohio and Pennsylvania are like pretty close. Like they mimic each other and things. But yeah, he's right. Of like any like big companies, like coal producing companies, manufacturers, like people who use a lot of electricity, would need those credits.
Versus,
At home.
I mean, Reggie kind of was going to sort of force that down everybody's throat. It
Mhm.
was sort of a volunteer Reggie for those that are producing more carbon than they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I want to look at this first.
No,
before we go.
I'm okay with it, Julia. I just want to, you ask a question of where these things are sold. And that's the market for it, is some sort of an energy producer or consumer that's doing more than what they're supposed to be. And this is a way to offset it, to keep them in good graces with some unknown government agency.
So, but I mean, if you did all the schools, I mean, you know, you would be looking at, like, just sort of project what is, if you were to do, I don't know, this school. And that would be a different analysis because, but anyway, I'm
Well,
thinking,
you're at 470 some kilowatts,
assuming it goes, assuming the market doesn't collapse.
and
Free market.
the if you added another, I mean, you could get to a megawatt. I think fairly easy if you considered all the properties. Now, whether you want to put the arrays on the various locations is a different question.
And would you be able to combine them all into one? Because I would imagine there's different zone, or like different.
That I don't know.
So a couple things just to kind of interject, since I can hear what you're saying. So for you can put them all in like one proposal that you can get from like a developer essentially, and the developer can work to like make sure that all of those like fit together within, like you said, like different zones or whatever. So that wouldn't necessarily be anything you'd have to worry about. It's sometimes actually better to add multiple arrays or like projects you're interested in to one proposal, because it's essentially, the best way to say it is like going to Costco. You get a better price because it's a bigger product that you're getting for your price per watt, versus like doing a smaller array here, smaller array there type of thing. We did at one point talk with Tom about seeing what it would be to put a solar array on top of the East Pike Elementary School, and then also a solar array behind the bus garage. We actually, and I have the numbers for that I can send over separately. It did actually work out that if you put the rooftop array on the East Pike Elementary and then utilized also the solar panels behind, like on a ground mount behind the bus garage, it actually offset 100% of East Pike Elementary. So that's just something to consider. If like you could do all three of these arrays, you could do like the high school ground mount, you could do the rooftop of the East Pike, and then you could do the ground mount of the bus garage, which would essentially offset 100% of East Pike and then 36% of the high school. And again, if there's other properties or anything you want us to look into, happy to look into that. It's not in the proposal that you currently have because Tom was only interested in the high school for this purpose, but I can send that over to Jared. And then he can send that over to you guys of like what we found for the East Pike Elementary properties. But I would say if you have any interest in moving forward with multiple properties, definitely do it because you, like I said, you get a better rate, but then also too, like I said to you earlier, the incentives will be going away. So because incentives are going away, it's not going to be it's going to be a worse payback period for the developer. So their actual like rates to like start with are going to be a little bit higher. So if you want to lock in like better rates, do it now.
Before you go,
Go ahead.
the area behind the bus garage is the hillside between us and the park.
Yeah.
So we looked at that. We looked at the roof of East Pike. We did not look at the roof of Eisenhower, which is a brand new roof. And we also didn't look at the roof of the junior high, which is also a brand new roof now. So you have some opportunities to do this. You want to go in full boat. I have a hard time believing that we would actually finance this ourselves. In spite of all this, in spite of the returns being better, that I just don't see us, borrowing, bonding $3 or $4 million.
If it
in
would
order
be
to get this
considered an
return back.
outright arbitrage doing that. I mean, it could be considered an outright arbitrage if we finance that much or so.
I don't know what that means.
Well, we're not allowed to be like a bank. I mean,
Right.
basically we're the financier and then, we're actually selling credits and there's a fee out there in which we could offset.
But we're buying power from our own arrays.
Yeah, I gotta think about it. I'm just.
Okay.
I'd like to see what we could do, not using the high school right now, but using the rooftops of whatever buildings we can. See what that would bring us.
We can do that. Right, Kat?
Well,
We do have, I believe actually at one point, we at some point did model Eisenhower. And there's a chance we modeled the junior high. I know Amelia was working with Tom and Jared for a little bit and I kind of took over the project. So I have to go back and see what Amelia did. But if you want, I can send over those rooftops as well. Is there any other like rooftops or arrays that you would be interested in looking at?
I think the bus garage, because that's non-usage basically. I mean, the bus garage and the rooftops, I'd like to see what those would be in one.
Well, yeah, and we have the high school. The reason we did the high school is because David doesn't want to mow it anymore. And that ground is not utilized for anything, so that's why we picked that. And we had a lot of discussion when years ago about the difficulty of being on a roof. So, but that again, I'm certainly glad to do that. I think, Kat, you've done most of this work at East Pike. You've done behind the bus garage. I don't remember seeing the junior high or or Eisenhower, but Eisenhower is a new footprint.
Yeah, I think Amelia at some point did Eisenhower, but I don't think we ever like created a full feasibility. So I think we just like modeled it. I don't think we ever sent it over.
So my point is if you cap out, if you're at 100% offset on a building, at that point, is that an arbitrage? So what happens at that point? Does the state consider that's making money from an investment essentially? It's not offsetting your electric bill.
I would be thrilled to have that problem that we actually got enough solar array to offset.
I don't know how that, I just don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Kat,
Yes.
the only building that, I mean, if we're just playing what if games here.
Yeah.
I think the only building that I would be hesitant to do too much would be Ben Franklin.
Okay.
At this point in time, only because as far as the rooftop goes, because at some point we may have to invest in a renovation of that building.
Mm.
And who knows what that'll actually look like.
Yeah. We have
Absolutely.
20-year roofs on the way.
And, once the board were to figure out what that might look like at some point in time in the future, then we might throw it back in the mix. But until that happens, I think there's a much greater downside. If for some reason there'd be some major changes at Ben Franklin.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's completely understandable. One thing also too to note is that There's a thing called net metering, which essentially means that if you have a building or a ground mount array that is within a 2-mile radius of the meter for like another building, you can actually use that array that's 2 miles away or like 1.5 miles away to offset the meter that you want to offset. So if there's a piece of land or like property near Ben Franklin that maybe you want to try putting a ground mount on, or like if and I can look too, if one of the other buildings, like their array is oversized for actually what you would need, and it's within that 2-mile radius, you can still offset the building. You just don't have to put it on the roof. Does that make sense?
So let me put that into a hypothetical for you. So if we put enough solar panels on Eisenhower Elementary, which is 1.4 miles away from Ben Franklin, that it is producing more than 100% of Eisenhower's, we could also offset Ben Franklin's
Correct. Yep.
use then.
That is not an opportunity.
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Yeah, can you put an array into a 100-year floodplain by raising the panels out of the floodplain?
We don't recommend it for a couple of different reasons. And also too, it depends on this floodplain because there's certain regulations for like reasons why things are considered a floodplain. Also too, just as like a consideration, the more you have to build up a system, the more expensive it is because obviously it comes down to the steel needed, which is why, for example, like parking canopies are the most expensive solar systems that you can put in because obviously they have to be, like that 20 feet off the ground. Or 15 to 20 feet. So we just don't really recommend it. We try to like stay away from it. Because also too, it might be protected land. If it's like, like there might be reasons that it just won't work out.
The reason for it is that there's a large chunk of the open green space area around Ben Franklin that does lie in a floodplain of some description.
Yeah, but the majority of it's less than a foot deep.
Yeah, I would recommend that we stay away from that property just because it also might have like some brown zone regulations on it and stuff, which you can't build a solar array on like a brown zone. So, I mean, we can look into it if you have like more information about it. But if there's a better piece of land, then I would say go with that one.
My head's spinning.
Okay, Julie's head spinning.
I can't absorb it.
I think we sit on this for a month, gather more data.
I think so too. Kat, if Jared and I can send you, like, if you need anything from us to do those feasibility studies for the rooftops, we can connect with you tomorrow today. And then just so we have the timeline, if we need to be quote unquote under contract by July 4th, when would this body need to be approving the steps to move forward with you guys? Like, how long does the under contract part take?
So two things. One is that the only thing I would need from you, and just because it's been a minute since we've done these feasibility studies, if I could get electric bills for every single one of these properties, like for Ben Franklin, Eisenhower, just to make sure we have up-to-date electric bills and stuff for you guys, that would be super helpful. So you can send those over. I can get started on my side with those updates.
Kat, you only need 1 month electric bill. You don't need a whole year.
If that's all you have, 1 month is fine. If you can send at least 3, better. Sorry?
Jared, we go back 25 years. How much do you need?
No, I was saying, I mean, like we try to say between like 3 months and 12 months. So that's kind of like the range. It's helpful for us. So anywhere in that range. But if you can only send over 1 month, then that's fine. We can figure that one out too. But for the timeline for the under contract and stuff, you can be under contract essentially within like the month that you pick a developer, because it's more about putting the money down. So like once you pick a developer and you get an invoice from them, if you just like pay them and have that proof of receipt, that's that's more than that 5% or more down, that's under contract. So for timeline of things is that obviously the public bid, kind of your timeline for that like is dependent on your school district and like what you need to like review the bids and whatnot. Usually that's probably going to take 3-4 months, just because waiting for people to come to the site, do a site visit, submit their bids, for you guys to do that public opening review of it, that type of thing. So I would say probably budget for 4 months just to be on the safe side. And you know, on our side for us, like we can move as quickly as you need us to. If you said you have another meeting next month, I will make sure that these are done in the next couple weeks so you can put them on your agenda for next month.
So
Yeah.
Probably in realistic terms, drop dead for us would be sometime in January.
January, that's what I
The
was
new
thinking.
board's in place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, and we're just getting started, but that's probably when we need to make a final decision, a go, no-go decision.
Correct.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we could compare the outright purchase and ownership of it versus these, you know, the pay for the power option on the tops of the buildings. And then if we can have that and that ready for the board here by the next Buildings and Grounds meeting next month, that'd be fantastic.
Can I ask, do you have a date for the next one of these meetings, just so I have that date?
Yes, ma'am. Stand by. That meeting,
15th.
look at you guys. Yeah, the 15th of September.
Okay.
Is
So
that
I
doable?
will make sure that, Jared, you have those in hand at least the week before the 15th.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you, Kat. I really
Of
appreciate it.
course. Yeah.
Is it possible also to get some names of other districts that you've been working with over the last couple of years if they agree to it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Once I confirm with my team who is like at what stage essentially of like their marketing for this, I will send over a list. I can think of a couple names that I'm pretty sure we're okay to share. I want to confirm.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
It was positive Homer Center. Well, I heard
I think
Ralph
no,
talk.
you're right.
Yeah,
Homer is a.
so we could talk to Ralph and his team.
Oh, at Homer Center or Homer
Yeah.
City? Yeah.
Yep.
So if you know that name, then yes, that was one of the schools that we have assisted. So
Okay, good.
That's what
there you go. There's a good one.
Yeah, and we try to keep up with Homer.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of schools, and there's also other districts that have gone solar that didn't necessarily use our process, but have gone solar and stuff. So if you just Google like schools in PA that have gone solar, you'll pop up with a bunch of results. We are just recently gotten into the schools. We kind of, to be honest with you, stayed away from schools just because your bidding process gets a little tricky, but we've recently gotten into it. So that's the only reason why we haven't done a lot with the schools, but we're starting to.
Well, it wasn't too long ago that they made the incentives to work for public buildings.
True. That's the other thing. Is the direct pay option was just recently established as well. So
Yeah, 2-3 years ago,
Yeah.
you talked to us.
yeah, that's also a very good point. Yeah.
Anything else for Kat? Okay, Kat, you've been very helpful, although Julie's head
Fascinating.
spinning.
I know, it's fascinating.
Yeah. I say happy to help, and I'm here to answer anyone's questions. So we'll connect again.
Thanks, Kat.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Real quick, I know you want to move on. But if I'm not mistaken, if we go with our current ESCO company, we don't have to put out the bid. Because we did at Glendale an ESCO project, and they were gonna do our solar project as well. We decided not to do it. We're doing other energy saving projects, and we didn't have to put out the bid since the board voted on the ESCO company.
Good.
You might wanna look into that.
We're almost done with the ESCO.
If it
Whatever.
falls within the original contract, which our original,
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if it's always didn't fall on the original contract. We were just doing.
within the original timeline of the ESCO
Of the
project.
ESCO, of the contract.
Yes, like our ESCO contract is now going on 15 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
Do you want
Gotcha.
to make the
Wait.
inquiry
Yeah,
to see what they have to say?
Hmm?
Yeah. I'd also
Because
like
if the numbers would meet the current ESCO company's numbers, then that's good. That'll be good. So you don't have to worry about the bidding process.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was 15 years. We worked 6 months with ESCO companies.
The other thing is that the new ESCO is going to reduce the power requirements at the high school. So instead of being 30%, it may be 35 or 40%.
It is, but the other thing is to be sure that energy prices are about to skyrocket. in
Oh, yeah,
this
no,
thing.
I'm
So
not
there's,
taking that away.
and we were at the Homer Center redevelopment guy said if you Google something, it uses 1 unit of energy, let's say to make the math easy. Anytime AI gets involved, it uses 20 times the same amount of energy to do the same job. And AI is now in everything. So the demand for energy is going to skyrocket and the grid cannot keep up. So the supply is going to be low. I'm pretty sure in economics class, I heard that means that prices are gonna go up. So if there's a time to act, it's probably soon, you know?
And,
Well-
and I,
At the time, yeah, you, literally, we either go or don't go in January.
I agree.
Okay, because we can't depend on the incentives being around after 2026.
and Julia, I think because of that demand on the grid, that there'll be lots of places to sell those credits.
Well, yeah,
Because I think they'll be pushing the coal and the gas-fired power plants as hard as they can to meet the demand.
The other thing this does, is a resilient thing,
I hope we could do
and
that.
that when the sun's out, we get the power first out of our panels.
Okay.
Moving on,
Yes, sir, please.
Hyman Howard.
We're finishing up a couple things over there with different contractors to close out all construction on that. The big thing, the bleachers are in now. So that they look good, but we just have a couple minor punch list item things that we're working through with the different contractors to finish up. So looking forward to the open house on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Public,
probably
yeah.
5 to 7, come out and take a walk through.
Yeah, you've done a real nice job of emailing and going out to, parents that have never been there before, so. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I think it'll be well attended.
This, hopefully by next month on the stormwater, we will have something to present on the, fixing that with Young and Associates. They've been working with the borough to finalize those plans. They were over, I think, last week or,
This is the stormwater in the parking lot.
yes.
Yeah, the stormwater in the west, and that's all Bora's already done that work.
That work is all done. Now, we haven't had a whole lot of rain in the
So,
past
yeah,
Yeah, so it worked perfectly.
couple of
I was
weeks,
just
so
gonna
it
say,
works
it
very
worked
well.
Yes, it doesn't have any rain.
So we'll see. I mean, their work is done.
Yeah, but at least that's done and,
Yeah.
and finished, so.
Yep.
We got 50%, almost done.
Yeah, the parking lot, like I said, hopefully maybe next buildings and grounds or sooner than that, we'll have the proposed work from Young and Associates. They were just a little delayed on finding the manhole that we would connect into, but the borough was working with them last week to get that taken care of. So
Has the basement and the crawl space dried out?
it has in the past couple of weeks, so we haven't had any.
There's
rain.
some water
It's dry at the moment, but I hold my breath.
And
We're
there,
not putting stuff down there just quite yet.
Yeah, don't do that. That stormwater has to be connected to this.
Sure.
Yeah, that's really the problem that I anticipate.
and there's a sump pump down there now too.
Yes, they did
So
do
you're
that
pumping
for us.
water out. And
Mhm.
there's
just have
6 inches of water standing.
Right.
Great. So there's no water flowing in from the north side there. They closed all those holes.
On the north side,
They put the drains in and
yeah.
waterproof that wall.
Will we be out here?
Stop talking.
I have stuff. Let me talk to you.
Okay, very good. ESCO project?
That is pretty much wrapping up. They're still doing controls work at the senior high. They're a little bit behind. They are going to go into the school year, but they will be done with classrooms and won't be they'll mostly be in, areas that are not, where students would be, once school starts, but, they're working on the junior high auditorium lights this week. So that should be wrapped up here in the next couple of days. The stadium lights are all done. The pool pack was put on, I think the end of last month. So that's done. I think that's it for the activities that are still open.
On the auditorium lights at the senior and junior high, is somebody getting instructions on that system?
Yeah, there will be training involved with that. Yeah, that has not been scheduled yet.
Very good. Anything else?
Part of that, let's go in honor of our time here. We're already 2 hours into our committee meeting. There is a it's part of your packet, but there's also an attachment there. Constellation did put together an estimate for HVAC at the high school gyms. It's part of that, again, it's part of your packet there. I did not have them scheduled to come online and go through it tonight, as I did want the committee to get at least a first look at it and go through it without, and have questions. If you do have questions, prepare for them maybe in the future if you want them to come to a committee meeting to discuss it further. It does come with a $1.5 million price tag. 1.6. And that is if there is the proper electricity to take on those units. They didn't go into that depth of it. There could be additional money for that. If it is something we want to move forward with, they would need an electrical study to go through and make sure the proper power is there, just to put these units in. But
And that 1.6 is for the actual HVAC system and not Constellation's fee, correct?
yes,
Okay.
My question, Jay, was this both gyms or just the one gym? I couldn't figure that out.
I think it's both gyms.
Okay, we need to
I mean, I
confirm.
can verify that. But
Because it said gymnasiums on one and it said
Yeah.
gymnasium on the other, so I didn't know if it's 1.6 for both gyms. Yeah.
How has the offsetting of the study you were gonna do, the offsetting of the Eisenhower gym, you expected to be able to put teams next summer into that.
Well, they absolutely can start. We're gonna have, I anticipate the summer league basketball stuff will start over there. I think some volleyball we played over there, but they can't have like the big volleyball event that we've hosted for the last 16 years. I think that won't fit there because they have like 13 teams come and participate. So they would only be able to do 2 floors. Right now they're doing 4 floors of volleyball. So some of the teams will be able to take advantage immediately as of
For practices,
as of today,
for like summer.
for practices, summer work, that kind of stuff. But like the big, volleyball wants to practice there in the summer, they absolutely can, but their big event will still have to be in the gyms. I know the youth basketball program that's run at the senior high, I think it would fit nicely at Eisenhower, but they have to want it, so it is an option for people as of our building permit or our occupancy permit, which is in hand. So anybody that wants to,
And looking quickly at the proposal, it looks like it's only for the new gym.
that's what I thought by the pictures. And if it's
Well,
only for the new
but
gym,
all the work described is at the new gym.
Okay.
It doesn't do anything at the fitness center. Does the fitness center have AC?
Air conditioned one space, that's not.
The problem is your air conditioning for 800 people on the activity.
giant.
And half of the energy required there is for fresh air coming into the space. If you didn't have to do the fresh air to keep it from passing out, which is a more recent code requirement, the system would be half sized.
Mm. So, it's something we can look over. Jared will verify if it's just for the new gym, if it's for, for both. Yeah, but it's something to look at, and I think this proposal is good until April, so. Consider, maybe if we offset some costs with some solar.
Spend it, I guess.
Well,
There we go. Moving on to the renovation projects. Take a look.
yeah, the high school classroom renovations are coming along. The science room certainly will not be done for the start of school, but there's a contingency plan for that. The classroom part of the childcare center should be done for the actual high school students, that piece of it. The childcare room for where they'll be doing a lot of work with little kids will be a little bit delayed, won't be ready for the beginning of school, but the little kids won't be arriving until typically in October. So I think we're good as far as those classroom areas go. The casework for the science rooms is still delayed, will be delivered sometime in October to finish up the science rooms. But there are 4 change orders here for basically 3 of them are for the science room areas. And what happened there is as part of demo, what was thought to be on the architect's part drywall was actually plaster. So a lot of the demo was a little bit more work and in areas where they had to put in new water pipes and different HVAC and mechanical equipment. basically destroyed the walls to the point where they needed to basically drywall the whole science room areas instead of trying to patch plaster. So that's the big $10,000 change order, is to put drywall in all the new science rooms up there, or the renovated science rooms. The $1,000 change order is the walls that had to be taken out weren't just put on slab, they were actually poured and built into the cement itself. So when they demoed those walls, they had to demo the track out of the cement and then patch the cement as part of that. And then the $6,000 change order is the extra work to demo those walls, that, you know, the plaster, the floors, as part of that renovation. So
Which was a very large section of plaster.
yes.
The entire outside of it. Thank you, Ms. Osmond.
I'm not gonna come, I can't.
And then the change order 4 is to patch the terrazzo outside the childcare room, where we had to do a little bit of extra digging to attach the wastewater sewage line, where it kind of ended in the,
We're about 3 feet short.
yes.
Mhm.
So those will be on the board agenda for next week.
Okay, and this was probably the end of the
Demo's pretty much done, and everything else, I mean, we're just doing finishing work, so.
okay. So we're recommending those to the board and make a motion for that. Smaller project?
Ben Franklin's pretty much done. They will be up and running for the beginning of the school year. East Pike, the new entranceway is pretty much framed up and will be pretty much ready. The cooler freezers, there was a little bit of a mix up on, you could say our part, but more of because we bid out for the actual coolers, freezers themselves, but when they were delivered as what, here at East Pike, as what they assumed was inside coolers and freezers. Which the plans that we showed, everything we showed them, always had them being outside units. So they are going to get us newly upgraded units free of charge. So outside coolers and freezers are certainly more expensive than inside. And they are fast tracking that they should be delivered here in the next 2 to 3 weeks and quickly installed. Everything else should be ready for them. I mean, actually putting them in place does not take that long because they come in big panels, but they should be here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. East Pike was never going to be ready for next week regardless. So we had a contingency plan of just running as normal here at East Pike. So as far as staff and students go, they should see no real issues with that, but hopefully by the end of September, East Pike will be done. So.
Good. I got nothing. Anything else?
Real quick, just for it's something we'd like to bring forward. Maybe we can bring it to the next meeting.
Bring it now, get it over with.
Well, it's that naming rights for the wrestling room. We have Dan Roan has been working with some people who have been interested in making a donation for the new wrestling mats, and they are interested in They have a donor who will donate $26,000. They've asked if they have naming rights for the room. The room would officially be named the Steve Patchen Wrestling Room for the donor's late husband. Steve was the president of the Royal Oil and Gas Corporation, as well as an Indiana alum from the class of 1976. But anyway, they're asking for the naming rights for the life of the mats, which are 8 to 12 years. The naming right policy we have says no more than 10 years right now. So if it's the board, if the board wants, and I don't see a reason
We could
why
modify
not.
that to 12.
We could get to at least 10 and then evaluate the life of the mats and see, and they actually asked for an opportunity to re-up at that time. So it might be a win-win.
Redoing it every 10 years.
Maybe the way it could be done, Rob, would be just say, 10 years or the life of the mats until they're replaced, whichever comes later.
We can do,
And then
It's your policy.
you're
You can do what you want.
Then you're kind of golden until you have to do it again, you know?
Well, I think they're just wanted to put a little plaque up.
It's just a plaque. and-
Plaque, and
yeah.
maybe like something, a banner above the door.
Yeah,
That it's not like, not from the outside, just from as you enter that, or the auxiliary, the wrestling room.
Yeah, and at the same time, somebody's willing to donate that much money to do that good of stuff, you know, naming it the Patchen Auxiliary Wrestling Room,
it's,
which is well within our ability to do.
And it does-
And also to encourage other people to step up.
And you may be able to get them for other things down the road too.
What's that, Doug?
You may be able to get them for other things down the road.
Yeah.
You never know.
they said they would like a nice sign above the two entryways of the room with a nice plaque dedicating it to Steve. And his-
Mission is fine.
I think it's, you know, it's something we should consider. If you, if the committee has no problem with it, we'll put it on the agenda for next, you know, for next board meeting.
Because they would like to move forward with the process of actually buying the
Buying the
mats.
mats.
Because it
That
does
was-
take
that was
some time.
you know, we got the wall, we got the room ready to go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll put it on there.
Do we need to, in the board meeting, do we need to say the name?
I think so. I think we're gonna, yeah, I'll get all that ready for the board meeting for next week.
Okay, yeah, make sure we have permission to say the name.
Yes, sir. I hope so, because it's said publicly. But, yeah,
Right now, there's only one here.
right. So,
Yeah, so the committee will recommend that.
A lot of people watching.
thank you much.
Okay, Julie,
What's
we're
recording
this
this
way.
There will be 6 views of this meeting.
Thanks, Randy.
Sally will
Thanks, Randy.
watch it.